We're live. All right, shalom, brothers and sisters. Yahweh B'Ashem, Yahweh Shai Barak Thumb. To the brothers, Yahweh Shemar Alafan, B'Ashem, Yahweh Shai. To the sisters, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. I'm priest and officer of 5000 Abun. Joining me today is Trooper Darash, out of Toronto. I definitely appreciate his presence. He'll be reading the scriptures eloquently, okay, so you can understand what it is that you're reading and what's going on. We're going into the Sabbath day, the Sabbath breakdown, no filler, no religion, no spin around 3 times, put a thumbtack in your shoe, stand in a corner, chutzpah, nonsense. We're going to go into the Bible. We're going to show brothers and sisters what the Sabbath day is about, what can and cannot be done the Sabbath day according to the Bible. We're going to add and say, we're going to put in what the Bible says. We're going to break down what the Bible says, and that's it. All right. So first, I want to get some definitions, a few definitions on the Sabbath, quote unquote, in the English. The word Sabbath obviously comes from the Hebrew Shabbat, which means a day of rest or rest. Okay. The word Shabbat is a form, or it comes from the Hebrew word Shabbai, which means 7. Why is that important? Because the Sabbath day is on the 7th day. Again, I'm going to say it again. The Sabbath day is on the 7th day. Is it 7 days after the new moon? Is it 7 days after this moon phase, that lunar phase? Is it 7 days after the full moon? Hell no. 7 days after none of those things. How do we know that? Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 1:1, where it talks about the first day. So 1 and 5.
Got it, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Beginning, the Most High created the heaven and the earth. Skip down to verse 5.
Contra. Verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And evening and the morning were the first day.
He called the light day. When you see light outside, that means it's daylight, it's daytime. When you see darkness right now over Toronto, right now over Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is where I'm located in the States, it's dark. So it's night. Sun will come up and then it'll be the daytime. Okay. The first day is when the Most High separated light and dark. But was there a sun? Was there a moon? Lunar Sabbath, people? No. Right. No, there was no moon. There was no moon on the first day. The moon didn't exist. Right. What you're seeing is what Esau calls cosmic microwave background, or CMB. All right. There is a natural light that's just emitted from the solar system and coming from stars dying. It's coming from stars being formed. It's coming from metals. There are metals out in space. Many of the heavy metals that are here on Earth were formed in outer space. Most High had a recipe damn near. Okay. He took flour, like he didn't literally take flour, but he you go into a kitchen, right? You want to make cookies, right? When you walk into the kitchen, there's no damn cookies there. Why? Because you're making cookies. The cookies are without form. Right. There is no cookie, right? There's just flour, chocolate chips, milk or cream, butter, and an oven, right? With heat, right? That was the earth. The earth was without form and void at one time, meaning it was in a gaseous state. That's what gas is. A gas is it's a form of material. It's not a solid state. It's void. It's nothing. You can't reach in and grab it with your hands necessarily. You get my point? When you put it into a container, it'll just fill up to fill the container, right? It's empty. It's not solid. Earth at one time was not in its solid form. That's what it means without form and void. It was a gas. All the materials were there. They were brought forth by a very large explosion, similar to what the so-called white man calls the Big Bang. That's very factual in that when the Lord said, let there be light, light comes from what? An explosion. There was a large explosion. From that explosion, you had the particles that were formed. Smaller particles of smaller elements, helium, hydrogen, etc., all the way to your heavier elements, your heavy metals, etc., the stuff that they use to make bombs now, uranium, plutonium, etc. Right? And in any event, day and night was separated on the first day. There was no moon. So the days that the Most High is talking about, when the Most High took his rest, they're not based on the phases of the moon. Right. Days of the week are not based on the phases of the moon. Okay? The first day, second day, all the way to the seventh day had nothing to do with the moon. The moon wasn't made till like the fourth or fifth day. That's when you get to see the development of different celestial bodies. Okay, that's when they started to get to work on that. Okay, that didn't happen until later. So the lunar Sabbath is false based on that premise alone. And if you try and follow the lunar Sabbath, you'll miss the say you'll be missing Sabbaths. You'll be skipping weeks.
Right.
Because the moon phases don't occur every 28 days. If there is a new month every 28 days on the dot, then we could talk about it. Then we could sit down and talk about it. But you can't say that, man, because the moon phases are not on even weeks of 7, meaning in 4 weeks of 7 days, there's a new moon. That's not how it works. Some months there are 13 new moons. Some months there are 12 new moons. Okay? When you get into, if you want to get into it, you go check out the astronomical dark moon. That's what they call it. That's what NASA calls it. That's the new moon according to the scriptures. But when the moon was new, you couldn't see it. Okay? When the moon was new, you couldn't see it because the sun wasn't yet, shining on it, and it didn't go through its phases yet. It started dark. Why? Because everything started dark. That's why the new moon is dark and not full. No full moon. Okay? Full moon is not the new moon. All right? But the Sabbath, the Shabbat in Hebrew, is based on the seventh day. When is the seventh day? The seventh day, so-called Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. When you go into the Portuguese, the word for Saturday is sábado. It's not Saturday. Saturday comes from a Greek word, from a Greek god, Roman god rather, named Saturn. Okay? The days of the week are satanic. Everything in this kingdom is satanic. Monday, I forget what god that is. Tuesday, going to the god Monday and Tuesday, I forget about. But Wednesday, Woden's Day or Odin's Day. Thursday goes to Thor. Friday is Freus. I'm probably getting that wrong, but you can look all these up. Saturday is for Saturn. Sunday, obviously, is for the sun. Okay? These days are satanic. The month September is in honor of Septimius Severus, a so-called black man. Okay? The names of these months and days are named after men, because they idolize and make gods out of men. That's what the Roman Empire does. Sábado in Spanish, Sábado in the Portuguese, it comes from the custom of the Jews to keep the Sabbath on Saturday. That's always when it's been. Always when the so-called Sabbath has always been on Saturday. How can we say that in the I.S.U.P.K? In the I.S.U.P.K, we can say that because we're undefeated. In Colossians, the second chapter, the scripture says that Christ, or Yahushua, made a show of them, triumphed over them openly. And then in the next verse, Paul says, therefore, let no man judge you in meat, let no man judge you in drink and holy day, none of that. Because we go up to battle and we don't lose. So surely the days we have set and chosen and established are correct. The Sabbath day, so-called Sabbath day, since 1969, since the truth has been brought back on this earth, was Saturday. And that's how it's going to stay. That's how it's going to stay. And when men come by and change it, it sounds cute, it sounds honest, but what it is it's rebellion. And rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. Okay? The scriptures say, it doesn't matter if an angel comes to you and teaches you different than what you've heard. If that's happened, then you let that man be accursed. So that's what you've heard. That's what was taught originally. And men ran off to make religion. But that's the end of that. 6 days work, 7 days. So let's get the next scripture.
God.
All right. Give me Genesis 2:2, where it says the Most High rested on the Sabbath day. Let's get the precept on what the Sabbath is. Go ahead.
This is the book of Genesis 2 and verse 2. And on the seventh day, God ended his work.
His what?
His work, which he had.
Wait a minute. He ended his heating. He shut his heating off. He didn't heat the universe on the seventh day. Read it again.
And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made.
No, he shut all the lights off. He shut the TV off, shut the lights off, he shut everything off.
Ended his work which he had made.
He did his work on the seventh day. Pay very close attention and take very, very precise notes. This is a very specific statement. He didn't say he shut off the TV. He didn't say he stood up and stood in a corner of the throne of heaven. He didn't say he put a thumbtack in his Most High in his shoe. He didn't sit on nails on on his fiery throne. Right. It just says he rested from his work. He was putting the goddamn universe together. That's some work. You know how much energy goes into the universe? The slave master, he's trying to measure it. The universe is 22 billion light years long. Oh my God, it's even longer.
Yeah.
And on the computers, Johnson, their computers can't find it. Their computers break. Okay. He tries to put a computer program in to check the size of the universe. A computer program comes down with a fever
Right.
when it tries to do it. They need to slip the computer some ibuprofen in its USB port. Okay. When they try to measure the universe.
Concept.
The scriptures say the heavens, who can measure it? You can't measure it. Slave master, he's trying to measure it. He wants to go to Mars. That's for another topic. All right. The Most High rested from his work on the seventh day. That's it. Didn't say he didn't eat. Didn't say he didn't make food for himself. He doesn't need to eat. But all it said he did was he rested from his work. And that's all the Sabbath is.
Right.
When you go into, you can do this. You have to shut the TV off, which I heard some people say you got to shut the television off. You have to stand in a corner. You can only read the scriptures all day long, 24 hours or whatever, right? You can't do anything pleasurable. We're going to get into that in a second. All that's a damn lie.
Right.
The Most High did not do his work, the specific work he was doing on the Sabbath day. And even Yahushua said, Most High does work up to that day. We're going to get to that in the New Testament. Okay, but he was working. He was resting from his physical work, servile work, which is what we do on earth. It's called our slavery. If you can get off your slavery, get off your slavery on Saturday. That's all it's saying. All it's saying to us, man, fleshly beings on earth. You can get off your slavery on Saturday. Get off your slavery. In our kingdom, there will be no work. If you're an employer, everybody's going to have off. Your slaves, the devil himself, he's going to have a day off. He's going to be in his slave quarters. I'm going to be on that damn clock. I'm going to be looking at the sun. And that's ding, 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 ding. And my heart, ooh, everybody up.
God.
Come on, Bradley. The mines need, the copper needs mining.
God.
You like copper, right? It's a lot here. But we're going to keep the law by those devils, right? It's going to be justified in what we do to them. But they're going to have off. When the other nations, the other races, Elam, East Indians, Chinese, Japanese, when they are done paying us their fee for their enslavement and destruction of us, they're going to go into their own lands. On Saturday, they can't work. That's it. Stuff's getting shut down. If you're an employer, you would give your employees off. That's how you keep it today. That's how it's kept today. When you're venturing off into other things, you're going into religion. All right. Drop that. Get me Isaiah 58 and 13. I want to go right into it. They say one of the things they say is no sex on the Sabbath, which is a damn lie. Okay, that's a lie. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you can't deal with your woman on the so-called Sabbath day.
Right.
All right. We're going to prove that to you in the Bible. Go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words.
Right. On the Sabbath day, you want to not do your own pleasure. What does that mean? What is your own pleasure? Anyone know? Your own pleasure is the thing that you want to do. What are the things that blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians love to do? This is specifically talking to us. The thing that we love to do is to chase the bag.
Right.
I hear that in every song. Every song is talking about chasing the bag, getting money. You got to get your degree. College education and getting degrees and chasing the bag and getting money is pushed in Black and Hispanic culture heavily.
Right.
That's your pleasure. On so-called Saturday, you're not supposed to do that. If it's within your means to not work or not do your work on Saturday, so-called Saturday, then don't do it. Now, if he's saying, he wants to fire you, then you go ahead and suck it up and go in there. This is our slavery. But again, you get counsel and you look for a way, you look for a way out. Just get a new slavery. They can't give you off on goddamn Saturday. The
Right.
Jewish man come in with a beer to the floor, okay, and they all cater to him.
God.
Arab can come in with a full Aladdin rug doing prayers, okay, but they can't cater to you? No, man. No.
God.
Also, you get in touch with me, man. We'll give them a letter that'll scare the piss out of them. Okay,
Right.
we have lawyers, and if there's a problem, they can get sued on that for discrimination. They should be able to give you one goddamn day off. Okay, so if you can get off your slavery, you get off, and don't go off and do your pleasure. Don't be out here running around chasing the bag. You have a business. You running your business 24/7. Don't do that. Okay, refrain from doing that pleasure. Turn your foot away. If you do that, then you're going to be a delight. And then you'll delight in the Most High. That's what it says in the next verse.
Right.
Okay. Turning away your foot, that's telling you what it's talking about. What do you do when you go to work? Walk up and clock in, right? That's what it's talking about. You going to do your own pleasure. Okay. You're supposed to call the Sabbath a delight. What's a delight? A day where you can kick back. Isn't it delightful? You kick back, right? With your wife, your woman, your family, etc. That's what the Sabbath, so-called Sabbath, is supposed to be, the Shabbat. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a delight, a day off. That's it. That's all it is. And from doing thy own pleasure, okay, the Bible in 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, calls sex a duty. They don't understand that, Trooper Daraj. It's not pleasure. As a husband or as a wife, you have to have sex.
Right.
That's a duty of marriage. That's not a pleasure. I'm going to get it right now in case they think I'm hallucinating, Trooper Daraj. I'm going to get it. 1 Corinthians 7. Bear with me 1 second. Duty of marriage. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse.
Was it 4, sir?
No, I want to get verse. Let's just read verse 3. I'll read it. 1 Corinthians 7 and 3. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, not pleasure, not something I want to do. Due benevolence. Sex is a duty. It's a job. It's like sweeping the floor, like mopping. You're a bodybuilder, a powerlifter. It's like getting that bar nice and getting that bar ready, getting that bar loaded up, getting chalk ready.
God.
That chalk on, you can get that good grip, right? It's like deadlifting, pulling the bar, bench pressing. It's a duty, something that you have to do. You're not always going to want to do it. She's going to get on your last nerve. She's going to take your central nervous system and put it in a frying pan some days. Right. At the end of the night, you got to find a way, something.
Right.
Go to Victoria, have her go to Victoria's Secret. Get the KY jelly, something. Get whipped cream, something.
Right.
Salakia. Do something because it's a duty. This is 1 Corinthians 7 and 3. This isn't tough talk. I'm not making this up. It's due benevolence. You owe it to her. So you can give it to her what you owe her on the Sabbath.
Right.
You understand? That is lawful. And I'm going to pull another scripture on it. Okay. Hebrews 13 and 4. Scripture says marriage is honorable in all. No, just in some days. Not Saturday. Not Shabbat. It's not honorable. Sex is dirty on that day. Who says sex is dirty at all? The Catholic Church. What does a Catholic Church do? Oh, they molest little boys.
Right.
Across the earth. Don't trust any cat that's telling you you understand what you can and can't do with your damn woman. Naturally. You get my point? Right. He's telling you can't have sex certain days when the law doesn't say that. Meanwhile, he's a child molester, the Catholic Church. They're telling you about premarital sex. And there is no such thing as premarital sex. The sex is what makes the marriage. Okay? And anyone in your business telling you you can't be with your woman on Saturday is kind of weird. It's kind of suspect.
Right.
Okay? He isn't quite stable. The law says that when you're in the congregation or when it's a high holy day, when you present yourself, you have to be clean. Okay, that's when you're to be clean. You can't come around the congregation unclean. How do I know that? Leviticus, the 15th chapter. If you spill seed through having sex with a woman woman and the woman gets seed on her, you get on the sheets or whatever. You both to take a shower. Whatever the seed gets on, you to gather it up and wash it and dry it. You'll be unclean till sundown. That's it. Sex isn't dirty. It's not something to be frowned upon when done with your wife. Now, if you're doing it in the back of a car and on Dundas in Toronto with some Eastern European prostitute, yeah, that's disgusting. We're going to show you that at the end of this verse. The Most High is going to judge you for that. Okay? Hebrews 13:4, marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers the Most High will judge. You're not going to get judged for having sex on the Sabbath, man.
Right.
It's not, okay? That's not what it says. It says whoremongers and adulterers. That's what I'd be worried about. I'd be worried about Codex and Backpage and, whatever slime we're going to go pick up in Toronto. Don't do that. Most High is going to put us to death for that. But what you do with your woman, that's honorable, man. In all things. Whatever you and your woman decide to do, you go ahead and do it as long as it's, in its proper order. You're not, I don't want to go too far, but you're not getting, going into and it rolls reversing. Don't do that. But on the Sabbath, so-called Saturday, it's you good to go. So that's another lie. The doing thine own pleasure in Isaiah 58:13, it's precepting a law. Has to have a precept. The precept for the Sabbath is no servile work. No work was to be done. Your pleasure has to be your work because it's the only precept that you can go to for the Sabbath, the Shabbat, okay, in the Hebrew. So in Isaiah 58:13, where it says from doing thine own pleasure, it's you wanting to go to work. You wanting to chase the bag. You wanting to work your employees to death.
Right.
Okay. Nor speaking thine own words. What are your own words? Getting the bag. 12 plots of land. I'm going to trade with this country, that country. Don't do those things. We shouldn't be doing those things on that day. That's all that's talking about. All right. So I went through Hebrews. Give me Exodus chapter 19 and verse 15. There are other times as well where the Most High said we couldn't come near our wives, to have sex. All right. I'm going to show you another example in the scriptures. Go ahead.
Got it, sir. This is Exodus chapter 19 and verse 15.
Go ahead.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day.
Uh-huh.
Come not at your wives.
Come not at your wives. The Most High is about to show his presence or his glory on the top of Mount Sinai, I believe.
Right.
Okay, it could be wrong. You just go check out the history. Just read this chapter and you'll get what mountain it was. It was one of those mounts that he showed himself. He rained thunder down on the top of the mountain. The top of that mountain still burnt to crisp today. You can't get near that mountain, okay, because the Saudi Arabian military has it cornered off. You can go check this mountain out. The top of the mountain is burnt black. The bottom, Saudi Arabian military patrols it day and night. You're not going up there, okay? But at one time, the Most High burnt the top of this mountain, and he said he made a command saying, "Come out of your wives and not have sex during this period of time for this day." Okay, why? Because he didn't want men coming up, to the tabernacle, not to the tabernacle, to this mount unclean. Okay. The Most High likes cleanliness. He wants to be honored and worshipped. You get my point? So you want to come. He wants the best of you. No, emissions or dirtiness or deformities when you're coming to the Most High. But of course, because of Yahawashi, people that have deformities can come to the Most High.
Right.
Certain deformities. Okay, but that's when you couldn't come to your wife. When you're at war, you weren't around your woman. Okay, so you weren't getting any action or do benevolence. Salaki. Let's go to the story where the man got killed for gathering sticks. All right.
Okay.
Give me Numbers 15 and 33.
Got it, sir.
32. Go ahead.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 15 and 32. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day.
Man gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. You don't gather sticks. You didn't gather sticks at this time to make, ornaments or artwork. Man, people gathered sticks before, geothermal heating in Toronto and press buttons and smart homes, right? Before that, you had to gather sticks for heat. You had to gather sticks and you had to make a fire. Go ahead out to reserve or the conservation areas in Ontario. Go get some wood and try and light a fire and see how long it takes you. With no Bic lighter, all right, no match, just wood, a piece of flint,
Right.
and some kindling or some dead grass. Try and light a fire. Lighting a fire is not what you think it is at all. Lighting a fire was work. Okay, this man was gathering sticks to light a fire because he was working. Okay, working on that day, and was most likely the case, someone had him going out there to do it. You get my point?
Right.
That's what was going on.
Salakia, sir.
What?
It can't mean, when you consider what's in the law, the sin could not have been him lighting a fire, because I'm pretty sure in the temple a fire has to be lit continually.
The fire has to be on continually in the temple. That's correct. Was a fire that was lit continually in the temple. So
right.
Him just turning a fire on it couldn't have been the error.
Right.
It wasn't him gathering sticks for a fire or gathering sticks to make artwork. Wasn't the damn error. His error was that he was working. Okay. And oftentimes in Israel at that time and before this, we had servants. Okay. This was before Jane and Finch. This is before Regent Park. We were a nation. We just got out of slavery. We were a nation built and strong and powerful and on the world stage, or growing in power rather. So we had servants. Okay. He was put to death for working.
Right.
Again, the law of the Sabbath has always been working. The Most High rested on that day. Okay. So he was put to death, as you're going to read on, because he was working. Doesn't say anything about lighting a fire. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to, turn it into a religion. You have kids and you're in Toronto, you're going to not have the heat on. Your kids in the house.
Right.
You're abusive. You're an idiot. And,
right.
Child Protective Services is going to come and show you the true breakdown. Shabbat. Going to show you that, you should have just had the heat on. And that scripture does not mean that he was killed for heat because your kids aren't there anymore. Okay. That's not what this is talking about. You should turn the heat on that day because you're in goddamn Canada. Okay, the Most High isn't going to make rules that are going to be grievous. Remember, the scriptures say my law is not grievous. It's not going to grieve you. It's not the slave master's law where you got to go to the notary and get this new paperwork, get this new insurance, or fill this paperwork out, or find your taxes and, for job-related purposes or whatever. All right, that's not the Most High. That's not His rules. They've been written down for thousands of years. They have precepts, etc. He was put to death because he was working. Okay, you can light a fire on this so-called Sabbath. You can keep heat, and you can, not suffer on that day. The day wasn't made for you to suffer. Like the Most High didn't. I'm resting. I'm going to shut all the heat off in the universe.
Right.
So the stars up in the universe, those stars are on fire.
Right.
The sun is hot, thousands and millions of degrees Fahrenheit and Celsius. It's hot, boiling hot. He doesn't shut the sun off every Saturday.
Right.
Okay. So that's not talking about you just lighting a fire. It's talking about you working again. All right. So let's go to Nehemiah 10:31. Let's go to the buying and selling. As I heard someone say, you can't buy anything on the so-called Sabbath day. Nothing. You can't buy a thing. Okay. We're going to go into what it is and what Nehemiah was talking about in Nehemiah 10:31. When you have it, read.
10:31. And if the people of the land bring if the people of the land bring war or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell,
bring ware, like different pots or containers, etc. Go ahead.
Where are any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we should not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every debt.
If they brought victuals in, we wouldn't buy them. We wouldn't buy them on the Sabbath. Why? Because we would not be engaging in trade. Okay, buying and selling is not you going to get food to survive.
Right.
A Negro in Toronto doesn't buy or sell anything. You were never even in, buying, and you were never even in commerce in Canada. Right. Buying and selling is Canada trading with Japan, getting steel and moving timber. When Canada had furs, when the fur trade was big, moving furs and pelts to France, that's buying and selling. That is trade, commerce. Nehemiah did not allow them to come in and bring their goods to market. because there was a market. The markets were not open. Now,
Right.
does that mean you can't go and get something to eat? Hell no. The scripture says it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath or on the so-called Shabbat. No, excuse me, the so-called Saturday, the Shabbat in the Hebrew, the seventh day. Okay, let me get your definition. This is trade. Trade is a basic economic concept involving the buying and selling of goods and services. It's buying and selling. That's what trade is. When you're trading, okay? Nations do trade. Corporations do trade.
Right.
Now let's go to you. You are a consumer. You're not a trader. Okay? Show me the textile factory of the Negro in Toronto. Show me the warfighter planes, the F-35 program of the Negro.
Right.
Show me the international toothpick factory of the Negro. It doesn't exist. This is what Negroes are in Toronto and all throughout Canada, so-called Native American Indians, Latinos as well. Consumer. Bear with me 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay. Boom. Oh, 1 second. This is consumer. Merriam-Webster dictionary. I just lost it. 1 second. Just had it. Bear with me 1 second. Right. Good. That's not it. Look up. All right, so this is a definition of consumer. It's like it. A consumer, a noun, a person who purchases goods and services for personal use. So again, you going to get something to live and clothe yourself and feed yourself and survive is not buying and selling. It's not trade. That's not what Nehemiah was talking about at all. Nehemiah, again, you got to think the big picture. Nehemiah was he wasn't the king, but he was the head priest in charge, like a prime minister to the people. It's like if Canada said you're not bringing your steel in on Saturday. If you bring it in, we're not going to buy it. It's going to sit at the damn port. It's going to sit in the St. Lawrence. It's going to sit in Lake Ontario. Why? Because they do trade. They buy and sell. Okay. We are Negroes in Toronto are consumers. We go to the mall and spend our measly check and blow it on clothes or spend it on food to eat to survive. You don't have surplus to go and trade with other nations. It's not what we have. Okay, we are consumers. Eating to live on so-called Saturday is not unlawful. It's not. Cooking for yourself on so-called Saturday is not unlawful because you need to cook daily to survive. Okay, because we are poor.
Right.
Nehemiah was talking to, think big picture in Nehemiah. Why? Because he was in charge of the nation. He's saying, don't bring it anywhere. Okay, these are nations doing business. This isn't, Nehemiah wasn't some guy on the cat on the street. He was telling, nations, don't bring your goods over here, man. We're not going to buy them. Okay, so that's what that's talking about. Get me Luke 4:4-16.
Kind of know. Got it, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 4 and verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read.
Right, he stood up for it to read. Another thing that goes on the Sabbath day, which I've heard many people say is, I heard many people say that what we're doing is wrong. Having the the Sabbath service. That's something that was done historically in Israel. The Sabbath service that we conduct in the I.S.U.P.K is ancient. It is ancient and it is righteous and it is beautiful in the Most High's sight because that Sabbath day, that class on Saturday, don't skip out on that, man. That day, that class brought me into the truth. Okay, full out. It changed my life. Okay,
Right.
You come in, we typically have our Sabbath services noon too. And what happens is we read the Bible in Hebrew from cover to cover. So if you're a young man, trooper, what have you, you would get called up. You would say your registry, meaning what tribe you come from. We'll let you come up to the podium and you would read 7 verses in the Hebrew. That was done since Yahushua's time. How do you know? Because he stood up to read on the Sabbath day. That's what went on. You would get called up and you would read. And he read. Okay? And he went on to teach and become who he was. Yahushua kept the Sabbath, the Shabbat. Okay? It is definitely a good idea and very wise and something you should do in that you come to this so-called Sabbath service. You should listen, take notes, etc. All right? That's a very important class.
Concept.
And I've been in college for damn near, this is personal now. I've been in college for half a decade. So Saturday, that was the only day I had, to strengthen my sword, sharpen my iron, because Esau's classes are killing me. You know what I mean? So that day, so-called Saturday, man, I was filling them up, the scriptures.
Right.
Precept, classes all day, all night. You know what I mean? And that's historic. We've always done that. The Sabbath service is something that was always done in Israel. The scriptures were read on so-called Saturday. Give me Acts 15 and 21. All right. There's a Sabbath service that was held on every Sabbath day, so-called Saturday, and it's also done during every high holy day. When you go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, in the 6th verse, it gives you the law on the Sabbath, which is no work shall be done. Work that was done, servile work. Okay, work you do for a service, for a living. All right, that's not to be done. If you can get off on Saturday, you should. Right. All right, read.
Acts chapter 15 and verse 21. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day.
Being read in the synagogue in every city on the Sabbath day, on so-called Saturday. Don't we have classes on Saturday in Canada?
Right.
Aren't there aren't there Sabbath services every Saturday in the I.S.U.P.K. in every city damn near in the United States and across the world? Why do we do that? Because it's in the scriptures, in the Bible. Everything that we do, from the top to the bottom, the salute, the shalom, the fist pound, the headpieces, the garments, it's all in the Bible.
Right.
Many people do not understand it. They think we're doing it out of, because it's something we made up or we're trying to be funny or look funny. No, we're doing this out of the scriptures.
Right.
Okay. The Sabbath service is ancient and since Moses. Okay. And the point of it was to sharpen up on your reading in Hebrew. And man, we need that now more than ever. Like in Toronto, we're alienated from the truth. Alienated from our language. We think Canadian English is our language. We think Patois is our language. We think Creole is our language. Coming into the Sabbath service, coming into the Sabbath service will help you read tremendously. All right, bear with me 1 second. Come on. Give me a 10-minute class. All right, shalom. All right, Salaki. So next, take me to the Apocrypha. Let's get Maccabees 2 and 32. Now, these same people that say you can't cook, can't buy anything, and you can't have sex, they'll also say, I guess they'll say you can't fight either. So if somebody climbs into your window, with a knife, you're just going to let him do what? Rape your wife and kill your kids? Is that what's going to happen as well? Give me a damn break. You're to defend yourself. You can act on the Sabbath. Okay? These idiots in the book of First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, they didn't fight. These were cats that they didn't understand the law. And many people do not understand the law of the Sabbath. They don't understand it. Okay? And in their case, it got them killed. First Maccabees 2 and 32, read.
First Maccabees 2 and 32. They pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day.
These are the Greeks who don't give a damn about anything the Most High has at all. You understand? So they didn't give a damn. They made war on that day. Let's find out what these brothers did. Okay, now it's important to know these brothers were not with Mattathias. They were not under proper leadership. Because of that, they had their own ideas about what the Sabbath was and what the Bible was about and what we can and can't do. And let's find out what happened. Go ahead.
And they said unto them, let that which you have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live.
Go ahead.
Verse 30.
So these Greeks are telling them, let all that you've done up to this point, let it be enough. Now come over here and submit yourselves, and you'll live. Let's find out what they said. Go ahead.
Verse 34. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. Verse 35.
So they weren't going to come. They weren't going to lift up a sword. Lift up a sword. It's the Sabbath day. I can't work. I can't move.
Right.
I can't wage war. Let's find out what these Greeks did. Read on.
Verse 35. So then they gave them the battle with all speed.
And the Greeks just came at them full blast. Go ahead.
Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid.
They didn't move any places where they were hiding. They didn't move in their hiding places. They didn't answer them. They didn't lift up a stone. They didn't lift a finger against them. They just stood there. And what did they say? Go ahead.
Verse 37. But said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. 38. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
They killed 1,000 people. These Greeks, these devils slaughtered 1,000 of our brothers and sisters on the Sabbath day.
Right.
Now, they said heaven and earth will testify for us. Do you know any of their names? Are their names listed in the book of Maccabees? Being great followers of Mattathias? No, because they died. Right. They weren't remembered. They weren't remembered. They were, they knew they were Israelites, and they had an idea of keeping the Sabbath that they thought was great and grand, okay, according to their understanding, but they died, and they weren't remembered. They weren't remembered. Let's read about who was remembered on that day, and let's find out what they did. Verse 39. Go ahead.
Verse 39. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore.
And when they heard about these brothers and sisters who were not in the truth, did not break free from the Greeks and follow the right leadership under Mattathias, Judas, Simon, etc., they wept for them. They wept for them. They were sad for them when they were destroyed. And we are sad, man, for every so-called Israelite group, man, that's destroyed because they don't understand the scriptures.
Right.
Members die because they don't understand the scriptures. Whose members are, put in terrible and horrible relationships. We mourn for them, man. We mourn for them right sore. Okay? And that's what Mattathias did.
Right.
We want all our brothers and sisters to come together under one banner. Okay? And because we're not under one banner, the slave master can pick off the weak of us.
Right.
Which is what he's been doing since we rebelled against the Greeks. Okay, this is a spiritual war now we're in. Okay, and we need all our brothers and sisters together under one banner.
Right.
All right. So they mourned. Read on to verse 40.
Verse 40. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth.
They were looking around like, look, if we do like them and just laid down and died, they're gonna root us out of the earth. We're gonna exterminate us. Read on.
Verse 41. At that time thereof they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him.
He said, man, look, and later for that, whoever comes and fight against us, we were gonna fight against him. Whoever comes to make battle with us, we're gonna battle him. You can defend your life on the Sabbath. Huh? You can defend your life. Absolutely, it's as righteous as the Sabbath day. It's as righteous as wine and olive oil in a feast day.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They understood the spirit of the law. The point of the Sabbath is not for you to die. Right. The point of the Sabbath is not for you to suffer on that day. You have no heat in the middle of Toronto in the winter. It's not what it's about. Your kids to go without food, they like, because you think you can't turn on the microwave or cook or put on the food in the oven for your kids. And that's along the same line of the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement, your kids do not fast. Okay? Fast does nothing for them. A fast hurts a child. You got a newborn baby. What is he? He's not going to get any milk? He's an idiot. Okay? Just not well taught. The strong, able-bodied men and women, they would take the fast. Elderly would not take the fast. Okay? When fasts were declared, the young men, the strong, able-bodied men took it. That's in the book of First Esdras. Okay? So there is the law, there's a letter of the law, but then there's the spirit of the law.
Right.
In the I.S.U.P.K, we understand the spirit, the point of it. Like, what's the point of it? We understand the point of the law. The point of the Sabbath is for you to have a day off. It has excellent benefits carnally as well. You get recharge. It's good for your mental health. Our people are nuts and crazed out of their mind from working 12 and 16-hour shifts, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Okay? But you can defend yourself on that day. Go ahead.
Sir. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
Right, they were murdered in the secret places. Those brothers, they were right for what they did. They're not fighting. The Most High was, with them, but they didn't understand the spirit of the law. Mattathias did. And because they understood it, they were able to live and carry on the work, carry on the burden. Okay? It's great to be in your house by yourself, not moving and lifting a finger. What is it doing for the rest of us? What is it doing in this battle? Paul said, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. We're at war. What are you doing in the house with your wife and some cold crackers and chicken salad? Nothing. Nothing. Right. On that day, we go to war. On that day, we defend our brothers and our sisters on the streets. All right, which is what Mattathias and them did.
God.
Get me 2nd Esdras 6 and 6.
God. Got it, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 6. Then did I consider these things, and they were all made.
No. Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees 6 and 6.
Okay. This is 2nd Maccabees chapter 6 and 6. Mm-hmm. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days.
It was not lawful for him to keep Sabbath days. So these services we would come together and read, they shut that down. Okay? And if they were over us, they were in position over us, they put us to work on those days. Make sure we didn't get off. And the slave master, the devil in the West Indian Islands, made sure you got Sunday off. And that's why we love Sunday. Sunday is called Domingo in the Spanish and Portuguese for the Lord's Day, when that's a day I'm alive. Okay? Christ or Yahushua didn't get up on a Sunday. Okay? Sunday was made the Lord's Day. 325 AD was made up by some simple Negroes, along with the devil, the slave master, the so-called white man, who wanted to bring in Catholicism and convert the heathens of Europe, pagans of Europe, under one banner, under one world order. Okay? You're talking about the New World Order. New World Order has been around since 1492. Okay? It's called the Catholic Church.
Right.
Okay? Everybody celebrates birthdays. Everyone celebrates Christmas. Everyone on the planet Earth, except for the I.S.U.P.K. Everyone has a happy born day and Shalom, a Shar Sabbath, a happy Sabbath. Everybody is carrying the spirit of the Roman Catholic Church except for the I.S.U.P.K. And one time it wasn't lawful to keep these days or the ancient feasts, the Passover. Read on.
God. Or to proclaim yourself at all to be a Jew.
See that? This is a precept for the Gentiles. This is why many brothers were called Gentiles, because at one time under the Greeks in the Macedonian Empire, which stretched from Greece all the way into Israel, all the way into Iraq, brothers all across that land, brothers and sisters, weren't allowed to call themselves a Jew. So in Alexandria, etc., Alexandria was a community in Egypt. Okay, you know that there were Israelites in Egypt now, because Mary and Joseph, they ran to Egypt. When you check the history, Jeremiah was captive in Egypt, so you had Israelite communities of Jews within Egypt. All right, and you had Joseph and Mary who ran into Egypt. Okay, so all throughout that area, it was unlawful to call yourself a Jew. If you couldn't be called a Jew, what would you call yourself? A Greek. Okay, so this is a precept for why there were Israelites who were called Greeks, because we weren't allowed to keep our law. Now imagine if you were in Greece, the Israelite in Greece. There was no, Maccabees that should come out on horseback and protect you. That was that. You were becoming a Greek. You were celebrating Christmas or Saturnalia. That was it. Okay? So Paul came along later to come and get those brothers. All right, next. Let's go to verse 11.
Context. Verse 11. And others gathered together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly.
They went to keep the Sabbath day secretly. A part of the Sabbath day is the Sabbath service. And you know that because they went into caves. What were they doing in the caves? Reading the Bible, which is another thing that the slave master never liked. He never liked us reading the Bible by ourselves. Never. During slavery, they like to teach in the schools that slaves weren't allowed to read. That is a damn lie. A slave put together Washington, D.C. A slave designed Washington, D.C. All the roads and the patterns, that was designed by a so-called Negro named Benjamin Banneker. Okay, so-called Haitian developed Chicago. Okay, so we could read clearly. Okay, the book we couldn't read was the Bible. Your eyes were burned out of your head for reading the Bible after Nat Turner's rebellion. You can go look that up. You saw that in Birth of a Nation, right? What they don't tell you about that is that he understood the truth, or he understood enough of it to know that America was Egypt. But he didn't have the truth. It was before 1969, so he did the best he could. And we pray to the Most High that, Nat Turner, he comes back into the truth.
Right.
Okay, get it right. But he did the best he could. He did a damn good job cracking their skulls open. Okay. But nonetheless, it was not the right thing to do. But it was the best he could do at that time. Okay. In any event, Nat Turner and his followers, they would go into caves and they would tie headbands around their head, like we do in the I.S.U.P.K, and they would read the Bible. The slave master does not like that. Since the Greeks. That's why there's Christian churches all across Jamaica, because they want to monitor your spirituality, which is very important. Okay? So we tried to run and hide, read the Bible. Remember, Acts 15 and 21 says the scriptures were read on the Sabbath day. So we were discovered doing this. Read on.
Con. To keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Because they had a conscience to assist themselves, to keep that day. They were burned alive for it. You tell me you don't want to come to the school? Come on, man. And you can't put pork away? Weeds too much? Brothers and sisters, you were put to death for not serving the gods of the other nations. Give me Mark 2 and 27.
Con. Got it, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 2, verse 27. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath.
Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Again, you were not made to worship the Sabbath. You do things normally every week in your routine, but now all of a sudden, you're not going to do certain things because the Sabbath mandates it. No, the Most High put the Sabbath together. Serve the Most High. The Most High rested, you rest. That's it. The Most High didn't do a servile work. You request off from your slavery on the weekends, or on so-called Saturday, at least, if you can. All right. That's all it is. And Yahushua is explaining to the Sadducee and Pharisee, again, who did not understand the law. And back then, brothers and sisters who did not understand the law, Israelites who didn't understand the law, but who thought they kept the law, they had the power of the sword, and they were putting us to death.
Right.
Okay? When today, not all it is just an argument. They had the power of the sword. They had a rule that you couldn't go out past like a certain distance. You could not walk a certain distance under the Sadducees and Pharisees on the Sabbath day, or on so-called Saturday, because they didn't understand the law. You can go for a walk, and exercise, etc. And again, rest is relative. My rest, right, is much different than Usain Bolt's rest.
Right.
You get my point? Usain Bolt is a champion sprinter. I am not. So his rest day is much different than my rest day.
Right.
You know, an actor's rest day and my rest day is totally different. A musician, his rest day and my rest day is totally different. Some brothers, rest is working out. They don't get to exercise. What are they not going to exercise on this Sabbath because they can't work? Oh man, you can do things to improve your health. It is lawful to do good on Sabbath, so-called Saturday. You get my point? Some brothers want to watch movies. That's fine. What they do with their time, what you do with your time is up to you. But the Most High requires that you rest. You get my point? From your slavery. Again, in this kingdom, in this hell, if you can. Do it with your utmost ability and make it your priority to do so. Okay? So you weren't made to observe it and worship it. You were made to serve the Most High. The Most High said, don't work on that day. That's it. Matthew 12:5.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 5. Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
The priests of the temple profane the Sabbath. How do the priests profane the Sabbath? They're doing their servile work. Their servile work is to do the service in the temple, and they break the Sabbath every week. Every single week in preparing and doing their work, they break it. Read on.
Verse 6. But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. Verse 7. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. Ye would not have condemned the guiltless.
You would not have condemned the guiltless. They were murdering men for, walking a mile on the Sabbath day, or walking a kilometer, or going around the street, or gathering sticks to light fires for their families. They're putting people to death for that, who were not guilty. Okay? They didn't understand what that meant. Read verse 8. This is important.
Verse 8. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day.
The Son of Man, he's Lord even of the Sabbath day. The Son of Man is Lord, is ruler of the Sabbath day. So what he did on that day, we do. What did he do? He went out in the streets. He prophesied. He spoke the truth. He taught. He went into the synagogues and taught. The scriptures say Paul went into the synagogues and battled on the so-called Saturday on the Sabbath day. And that's what we do.
Right.
What else did they do? It doesn't say, because it didn't matter. They didn't clock into their slaveries as much as they could. You get my point? That's all they did. Didn't say Yahushua, he didn't go read a book on that day. Didn't say he didn't, do push-ups on that day or go jog on that day or do, whatever physical exercise they did. Didn't say he didn't go talk to his family or, didn't say he didn't XYZ. It didn't say Peter didn't deal with his wife on that day. Never said that. Didn't say he didn't talk to his wife. Peter had a wife. All right. You get my point? He's the Lord of it. And what he did is just what he did. It didn't work. Went out, prophesied, doing his work, but he was blameless. Okay? Again, you don't understand the spirit of the law. Okay? We go out every Saturday to go out to camp. Why? Because that's what Yahushua did. Okay? Give me Matthew 12:12, last scripture.
How much then is man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days.
They were trying to cut him because he healed somebody on the Sabbath. You can't heal somebody. So if somebody comes in, somebody's ill on the Sabbath day, you're just gonna let him die? No, it's lawful to do good. Wherefore it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath day, so-called Saturday, the Shabbat in the Hebrew. It's lawful to do good. Somebody needs something, you can go grab it for them. You can go purchase it for them, man. Right. If they need it, you can go get medicine for your elderly mother. Right. If they need it, it's lawful to do good on that day. Okay? You can heal. We heal. We go and we cast demons out. You speak the truth about our people, and that's lawful. Okay? What is good, what is right to do, that's lawful to do. Okay? Going out to camp, all of that is lawful. It's lawful to do well on those days. You can't heal on that day. Okay? Again, the Pharisees and Sadducees did not understand that day. Yahushua did. It was a day where he operated as a priest, and the priests have always done that, and they were blameless for doing it. So again, you can buy to, sustain yourself on that day Cooking, there is no law against cooking on the Sabbath. You can light a fire. Otherwise, the Most High would shut the sun off. He would shut all the stars off for one day. He doesn't do that. Why? Because we would all die. Okay, and if you go without heat in Poland, in Canada, you're going to die.
Right.
The so-called Jewish man, his kids die and starve to death on that day because he thinks that you can't eat on that day, or you can't eat hot food on that day. If you're in a hospital, you know, as a hospital stops on every floor on Saturday, it's because so-called Jewish man has a Sabbath elevator where it'll just go to every floor, open and close on that day. Okay, so that's not what the law is talking about. You take off work, whatever else you want to do, watch a movie, deal with your woman, etc. That's up to you. Okay, we have a Sabbath service every Saturday, Shabbat, 7th day of the week, where you come and you learn how to read Hebrew. Outside of that, it's up to you whatever in the hell you do. But the law is to get rest, and that's all it is. All right, hopefully this cleared up the religion. This wiped away the religion, the Christianity off our minds, and allowed us to understand the severity and the truth about the Shabbat, or the so-called Sabbath. All right, this is some articles. I want to give you the carnal benefits of keeping a Sabbath day, or really getting a day off, which is really just what it is. All right. So this is from Inc.com. It says, a day of rest. 12 scientific reasons it works. Most major religions call for a day of rest. Science agrees. Again, science agrees with the Bible. The Bible is absolutely scientific. In fact, many of the laws in the Old Testament are actually medical in nature. Not being a whore is medical, right? You serve many benefits physically to your physical health, as well as not pissing the Most High off.
Right.
Not eating pork is medical. Most of the flus that you get, that you think you just get because you're sick or something, somebody else had it, because someone is eating pork every flu season. Most of the type A influenzas, are the deadliest influenzas. They're the influenzas that cause the most illnesses, that cause the most, are most contagious in humans, type A's. The type A, the flu of 1918 that killed 50 to 1 million people was type A. The seasonal flu is type A, to my knowledge. The swine flu is type A. Type A flus come from what? The pig. Yearly flu comes from eating pig. It's scientific to not eat pork. It's scientific to not eat bat. China understands it. The world understands it now. Let's read on. Physical transformation. Time out reduces stress. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health reports in a CDC publication that stress levels at work are higher than ever, and that, quote, healthcare expenditures are nearly 50% greater for workers who report high levels of stress. Again, they always talk crap about the Bible. Why isn't there any treatment for this? Why isn't there any treatment for that? There weren't treatments for it because we just didn't have it, because you had a goddamn day off where you could decompress. Okay? Number two, timeout gives you a chance to move. Having a day off gives you a chance to move and do something that you want to do. We've all seen the studies on the impact of a lot of sitting time on many aspects of health. Quote, research has linked sitting for long periods of time with a number of health concerns, including obesity and metabolic syndrome. Again, a ton of these issues having in this society is because of where we're living, is because of the slave master, the devil. Okay, you don't have a day where you can, if you want to go and take a jog, you can. If you want to go and hit the weights, you can. A cluster of conditions that includes increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol levels. Too much sitting also seems to increase risk of death from cardiovascular diseases as cancer. You get the point. You have a day off, you don't have to sit in your cubicle or what have you doing your slavery. Completely divesting from your work on a regular basis reduces inflammation and the risk of heart disease. Most occupations these days are sedentary. Modifiable risk factors for heart disease and general inflammation are uncontrolled diabetes, physical inactivity, overweight or obesity, and uncontrolled stress or anger. You see a lot of anger in the hood? Yes. You see a lot of uncontrolled stress and maniacs? Yes. Why? Because there is no day off of work. Slave master, the devil the Bible speaks of. Right. Okay. 4, getting away from work boosts your immune system. Chronic stress also depresses your immune system. Conversely, adequate sleep and exercise are 2 of 4 essentials for boosting your immune system. Again, if you have a day off and you just want to sleep, You can take a nap. Again, a nap is pleasurable. So what, we can't take naps on the Sabbath day? No. A nap, getting rest, getting exercise boosts your immune system. You don't get that clocking in 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Okay? Let me get more. Speaking of sleep, you'll do it better during time out of work. When you're out of work, you have less stress. You'll sleep better on that day. Your active time off adds years to your life. It'll add years to your life as well. Results of studies suggest that a higher amount of daily total sitting time associates with all-cause mortality, particularly among inactive adults. And these are some of the mental and emotional benefits. Taking regular time away from work restores mental energy. You probably know that just from your own experience. Science supports your intuition. Studies show that people who do not know how to detach from work during their off time experience increased exhaustion over the course of 1 year and are less resilient in the face of stressful work conditions. So what do? We go ahead and buy pills and buy weed to compensate with our hellish life rather than just keeping the laws and having a day off. When you take time out for yourself, you're more creative. Thinking is one of the crucial benefits of stepping back. Just as quality time off fuels energetic resources on the job, reflective time is critical to producing solutions and creative breakthroughs. Listen to this one. You're also more productive when you take time out from work. Again, the slave master, these economies they're running in Canada and in the United States are ass backwards. You don't get more productivity by working people 16 hours a day. In fact, you get less. Go check how many hours a week they're working over there in France. Go check how many hours a week they're working over there in Spain. 30 to 35 hours a week. That's full time in Spain and in France. Go look it up. They get 30 days paid time off.
Right.
Why? Because they don't have slaves, but Canada does.
Right.
America does. You're not getting you'll be blessed if you get a week off. You think it's God's will if you get a week off from work. Meanwhile, in Spain, they're getting 30 days paid every year. Data from the OECD shows that working more hours means less productivity. The most productive countries are Germany and France, each mandating more than 30 days of vacation. 30 days. That sounds insane to me. I got work this summer. I got 1 day vacation. 1 day. They get 30 days a year. Workers in the U.S. with no law requiring paid time off are the third most productive. Third. With all this money, all the people, all the technology, we're third most productive. Okay, this is 11. I'm going to read this last one. Your day off improves short-term memory. Do you laugh knowingly at all those jokes about seniors forgetting what they were going to do or where they put their keys? Did you think it was just a sign of change? Could be that you're just not managing your time out during the week properly. Separate from work, enjoy life, and as many studies show, you will probably remember where those keys are. Your memory will improve, your mental health will improve, you'll be able to recharge your batteries, you'll be less stressed, you'll reduce inflammation in the body. It's all scientific, man, to take a day off of work. Again, the Most High's ways are not our ways.
Right.
He's smarter than man. There's other articles as well. You can go to Psychology Today, where it says give yourself the day off. It says Americans are sleep deprived. We were also overbooked, overstressed, and under pressure to get everything done yesterday. We are obsessed with taking prescription medications, probably to help our bodies and minds get through to the anticipated stress of our work days. All right. In fact, research finds that work is one of the leading causes of stress. 1 second. Vacations can help in reducing stress, enabling couples or families to reconnect with one another. Again, if you work in 16-hour shifts, you're not going to be in the mood to come home and deal with your woman. On Saturdays, you get to deal with her. It brings people together. All right. And in helping individuals get recharged and return to work more energized and focused. In fact, in one survey after returning from vacation, 94% of respondents reporting feeling as if They had as much or more energy for work than before their trip. It'll make people more likely to want to work. It'll reduce risk of health disease. It'll reduce chronic stress. It'll reduce inflammation. Okay, you can also go to Forbes.com why you need to give your employees a day off. To think. That's in the scriptures. I didn't have to go to Forbes. I don't have to work for Forbes. I don't have to be a psychologist, right? I don't have to be a doctor. Just have to read the scriptures and come into the classes here in the I.S.U.P.K. With that being said, that's the truth about the Shabbat, so-called Saturday, right. So-called Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. It's a day off from work, day to rest, recharge. It's scientific. All of it's intricate and scientific. It's also spiritual. Do what the hell the Most High says, man, and we'll benefit from it. That's my time. With that being said, Shalom with the I.S.U.P.K, the home of the truth. Shalom.
Shalom.